What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Mark Magsayo versus Rey Vargas, and this was a 12-rounder in the featherweight division, and this fight was Saturday, July 9th from the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas, and this fight was broadcasted on Showtime, and in this fight, Rey Vargas was able to get a split decision victory over Mark Magsayo, so I personally scored this bout 115 to 112 in favor of Rey Vargas. I did agree with two judges who also scored this bout 115 to 112 in favor of Vargas, and then one judge scored the bout 114 to 113 in favor of Mark Magsayo. So this fight really started to heat up in sort of the latter rounds. In the first half of this fight, it looked like Vargas was sort of in control, but just to break it down, the first two rounds were actually pretty big in my opinion for Mark Magsayo. I thought he won both of them, as he was landing big overhand rights on the taller Vargas. He was sort of dancing around on the outside using a lot of fast footwork, and he was jumping in with big overhand rights, and they were landing on Vargas. But then from rounds 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and even 8, I gave them all to Rey Vargas, and that's really what won him the fight. The earlier to middle rounds won him this fight. Even though Mark Magsayo took rounds 1 and 2 on my scorecard, still Vargas just continued to stay composed. He started to box a bit more on the outside. He started to counterpunch Magsayo. He just started to outbox him, really. And some big moments in those middle rounds, specifically round number 5. There was a big moment there where Vargas was a bit staggered in the 5th round towards the end with a right hand from Magsayo, but really that entire round, aside from that one shot, was dominated by Vargas with his boxing, so I still gave it to Vargas. And in round number 7, a cut actually did open up on the eye of Vargas. I believe it was his left eye, but I don't remember exactly what the punch was. I think it was a headbutt, to be 100% honest. Yeah, a cut did open up in round number 7. But then in round number 9, a big moment did happen, as this is where Mark Magsayo started to make the fight really, really close, and this is where Magsayo really won a lot of the points that obviously the judges gave him on their scorecards, which made it a close fight. As in round number 9, Rey Vargas got dropped with a perfectly placed right. It was a straight right when Vargas was trying to go into the clinch. Mark Magsayo landed a straight right to the chin of Vargas, sending him down to the canvas. When he was trying to hold Magsayo, he was sent down after getting hit with that right hand. He got up and was saying, "Referee, it was a push," but obviously it was a knockdown, and it was clearly reviewed on the replay in between rounds as definitely a knockdown. But yeah, there was a big turning point in the fight, as in round number 10, Vargas's legs seemingly were gone, as he was just sort of backing up and really just getting hit by Magsayo. But Magsayo, it seemingly looked like in round number 10 he landed a big hook that dropped Vargas with like a sort of temple hook, it looked like. But then after further review, the referee called it a slip, luckily for Vargas in real time. But after review, obviously with the replay, and the commentators replayed it, and they clearly showed that it was a push, or sort of a push down on the head of Vargas, as opposed to a temple shot or a shot on the top of the head. But then in rounds 11 and 12, it seemed like that Rey Vargas got his legs back, as he was landing big shots. He was boxing a bit more, utilizing footwork more, and in round 11 he landed a big left hook on the chin of Mark Magsayo that really won him that round as well. In round 12 he was moving around the ring really, really well, jabbing a lot, and Mark Magsayo was reckless because he really thought that he needed that knockout to win, and that's what he did need, or even another knockdown. So with that being said, this was a big win for Rey Vargas. And comment down below how you scored this fight, because this was actually a very close fight when it really got to the end in the last couple rounds because of the knockdown and how Mark Magsayo fought. And that goes into the question, what is next for Rey Vargas, who actually just won this WBC world title at a new weight class, now a 2-weight world champion, now 36-0. I think in his next fight, now at 126, if Brandon Figueroa stays at 126, who knows, that could be a fight. But most likely they could definitely make Gary Russell Jr. versus Rey Vargas, considering that Gary Russell Jr. did lose to Mark Magsayo. That could happen. But, if anyone's thinking about a rematch happening between these two, it's a little bit slim, but definitely an option. But most likely, I think we could see Mark Magsayo take on maybe a Brandon Figueroa if he's staying at 126, or even most likely Gary Russell Jr. in a pretty big Showtime main event. But as for Mark Magsayo, in his next fight, he could take on really just someone inside the top 5 in the featherweight division. I mean, yes, he's definitely that good to definitely be taking on those guys. I would have said he could take on someone like a Leonardo Baez just to get a nice, solid comeback win in his next fight, but Baez is fighting Emmanuel Navarrete. So, I mean, he either could have a really just easy comeback win against someone just that's outside the top 15, maybe inside the top 25 or lower. But I think in his next fight, definitely another option could be someone inside the top 10, somewhere around there. That could be a very, very nice and tough fight for him. So overall, Rey Vargas really survives a knockdown later on in the fight and ultimately defeats Mark Magsayo by a split decision to become the new WBC featherweight champion and to stay unbeaten. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.